Commander Alina Blackwood stood at the observation deck of the Earth Embassy on Centauri Prime, watching the swirling nebulas beyond the station's protective shields. After 15 years of representing humanity in the Galactic Assembly, she thought she had seen everything. She was wrong. The emergency beacon pulsed with an urgency she had never witnessed before. All representatives were being summoned to the Grand Chamber, an occurrence that had happened only twice in the Assembly's 3,000-year history. "Commander," Lieutenant James Harrison's voice crackled through her comm unit. "The Zenthian delegation is requesting preliminary audience. They're insisting." Alina squared her shoulders, adjusting her midnight blue uniform. The Zenthians, self-proclaimed guardians of galactic peace, had always regarded humanity with barely concealed disdain. "Denied. We'll meet them in the chamber like everyone else." As she made her way through the crystalline corridors of the station, Alina noticed the unusual tension. Species that normally mingled freely were clustered in isolated groups, their voices hushed. The few who met her gaze quickly looked away. The Grand Chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, a vast dome of living crystal that adapted its transparency to the needs of its occupants. Today, it was nearly opaque, casting the gathered representatives in shadows. High Archon Varix of the Zenthian Empire stood at the central podium, his iridescent scales shifting colors in the dim light. All four of his eyes fixed on Alina as she took her seat. "The Assembly recognizes High Archon Varix," announced the speaker, a neutron-based entity whose form flickered like a dying star. "For 3 millennia," Varix began, his voice resonating through the chamber, "the Zenthian Empire has maintained peace across the galaxy. We have guided younger races, protected the weak, preserved the balance." His upper eyes narrowed. "But now we face an unprecedented threat." Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing images of Earth's recent technological achievements. The quantum drive engines, the consciousness transfer protocols, the dark matter manipulation experiments. "Humanity," Varix continued, "has advanced at an alarming rate. Our predictive matrices indicate they will achieve Class X technology within 2 decades. The last race to reach such advancement levels caused the collapse of the Andromeda galaxy." Alina rose from her seat. "These accusations are baseless. Earth has shared all major technological developments with the Assembly." "Not all, Commander Blackwood." Varix activated another hologram, revealing schematics of Project Prometheus, humanity's most closely guarded secret. "Your species is developing weapons that could unravel the fabric of reality itself." The chamber erupted in chaos. Project Prometheus wasn't a weapon. It was humanity's attempt to understand the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. But from the outside, Alina realized with growing horror, it could appear as something far more sinister. "The Zenthian Empire hereby declares a state of war against Earth and all human colonies," Varix announced. "Surrender within 1 standard month or face extinction." As the chamber descended into pandemonium, Alina's quantum communicator vibrated with an urgent message from Earth. Her blood ran cold as she read it. "Project Prometheus successful. Test subject has achieved consciousness synchronization across multiple realities. The universe is not what we thought it was. Neither are the Zenthians." Back on Earth, Dr. Nathan Wright stood in the heart of the Prometheus facility, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Before him, suspended in a quantum field, floated a simple geometric shape that shouldn't have been possible, a perfect circle that was simultaneously a square. "They're not trying to stop us from developing weapons," he whispered to the handful of colleagues gathered around him. "They're trying to stop us from discovering what they really are." As Commander Blackwood's transport rushed back to Earth, carrying news of the impending war, humanity was about to discover that reality itself was the true battlefield. And perhaps, just perhaps, they were more prepared than anyone, including themselves, had imagined. The Zenthians had maintained peace for 3,000 years not through strength or wisdom, but through careful control of how species perceived reality itself. Now, humanity was on the verge of shattering that illusion. The war that was coming wouldn't be fought with ships and soldiers. but with the very fabric of consciousness itself. And somewhere in the vast network of human colonies, Project Prometheus continued its work, unraveling the greatest deception in galactic history, one quantum paradox at a time. Dr. Marcus Thorne hadn't left the quantum research facility in 3 weeks. The vast underground complex beneath the Australian outback hummed with nervous energy as scientists and military personnel rushed through its corridors. Time was running out. "The quantum field is stabilizing," announced Dr. Olivia Chen, her hands dancing across the holographic interface. "Consciousness synchronization at 60% and rising." Marcus watched the readings with intense focus. After the declaration of war, Earth's various scientific projects had been consolidated under a single initiative, Project Oracle. What had started as separate research into quantum mechanics, consciousness transfer, and reality manipulation was now humanity's best hope for survival. The facility shook slightly as another Zenthian probe passed overhead. They hadn't attacked yet, but their ships had been appearing with increasing frequency, testing Earth's defenses. "Commander Blackwood is here," Lieutenant Harrison announced, escorting Alina into the quantum lab. She looked exhausted, having spent the last 3 weeks coordinating Earth's diplomatic and military response. "Tell me you have something," Alina said, her voice tense. "The Zenthian fleet is growing. Our latest estimates put their numbers at over 15,000 ships." Marcus gestured to the central chamber where a complex array of quantum processors surrounded a single chair. "We've discovered something extraordinary. The Zenthians don't just control reality, they are reality warpers. Their entire civilization is built on the ability to manipulate quantum probability." He pulled up a series of complex equations. "But they're not the only ones who can do it. Humans have a unique neural structure that makes us naturally resistant to quantum manipulation. That's why they fear us. That's why they've been subtly suppressing our technological development for the past 50 years. Alina studied the data. "How does this help us?" "Project Oracle isn't just about understanding quantum reality," Olivia explained, joining them. "It's about hijacking it. The Zenthians maintain their control through a vast network of quantum fields that blanket the galaxy. But where they use it to impose their version of reality, we found a way to do something different." Marcus led them to another chamber where dozens of volunteers were connected to quantum interfaces. "We're not trying to control reality, we're trying to set it free." On the monitors, impossible images flickered. People walking through walls, objects existing in multiple states simultaneously, causality itself becoming fluid and malleable. "The Zenthians enforce what they call quantum coherence, a single, stable version of reality," Marcus continued. "But reality itself wants to be multiple. It wants to explore all possibilities, and humans, it turns out, are naturally attuned to this multiplicity." Alina watched as a volunteer phased their hand through a solid steel plate. "How long until this is combat-ready?" "That's the problem," Olivia admitted. "We can create localized effects, but scaling it up to a level that could affect a battle, we'd need months." "We have 2 weeks," Alina reminded them. Marcus smiled for the first time in days. "Actually, we might have a solution. Show her Olivia." Olivia activated a specialized quantum scanner, revealing something extraordinary. Throughout the facility, threads of probability were weaving themselves into new patterns without any input from the equipment. "The human consciousness isn't just receiving these quantum effects," Marcus explained excitedly. "It's amplifying them. Every person we connect to the system makes it exponentially stronger. The effect is spreading by itself." Alina's eyes widened as she understood. "You're saying we could turn humanity itself into a quantum computer?" "Better," Marcus replied. "We could turn humanity into a reality engine. The Zenthians maintain their power by enforcing a single version of reality. But what happens when billions of human minds start believing in and manifesting different possibilities?" The implications were staggering. The Zenthians had spent thousands of years building a cage of quantum probability around the galaxy. Humanity was about to blow that cage wide open. "Begin mass production of the quantum interfaces," Alina ordered. And get me a secure line to the Defense Council. They need to know that when the Zenthians attack, we're not just fighting for our survival, we're fighting for the right of reality itself to be free. As the facility hummed with renewed purpose, Marcus returned to his equations. The Zenthians had declared war expecting to find a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel. Instead, they were about to face something unprecedented, a species that could turn their greatest weapon against them. The question wasn't whether humanity would survive. The question was whether the universe itself was ready for what humanity was about to unleash. In orbit, the Zenthian probes continued their silent observation, unaware that with each passing moment, the very fabric of reality was beginning to shift beneath their feet. The war for quantum reality was about to begin, and humanity had just found its ultimate weapon, possibility itself. Admiral Viktor Petrov stood on the bridge of the ECS Hyperion, Earth's newest quantum-enhanced battleship, watching as the massive Zenthian fleet emerged from hyperspace. The void between Mars and Jupiter lit up with the arrival of thousands of crystalline vessels, each one radiating with impossible energies. "All stations report," Victor commanded, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Quantum shields at maximum capacity," Lieutenant Diana Rodriguez announced from her station. "Oracle interfaces synchronized across all ships in the fleet." Earth had managed to outfit its entire defense force with quantum consciousness interfaces in just 2 weeks. 300 ships against 15,000. On paper, it was suicide, but they weren't fighting a conventional war. "Message from the Zenthian command ship," Communications Officer Wei Chang reported. "They're demanding immediate surrender." Victor smiled grimly. "Send them our response." The message was simple. Reality is not yours to control. The Zenthian fleet's response was immediate and devastating. Thousands of quantum-based weapons fired simultaneously, their attacks designed to not just destroy matter, but to erase it from existence itself. But humanity was ready. Deep beneath the Australian outback, Dr. Marcus Thorne and his team activated Project Oracle's core. Across Earth and its colonies, billions of human minds connected through the quantum network, each one adding their consciousness to the equation. The Zenthian weapons struck an empty void. Their quantum erasure beams passed through space where Earth's fleet had been, but the ships existed in multiple states simultaneously. Their probability waves stretched across different versions of reality. "All ships execute pattern Omega," Victor ordered. The human fleet responded with a maneuver that should have been impossible. Each vessel split into quantum echoes, existing in dozens of potential states at once. The Zenthians' rigid control of reality began to crack as human consciousness rewrote the rules of what was possible. In the Project Oracle facility, Olivia Chen monitored the quantum feedback. "The network is holding, consciousness synchronization at 90% and climbing." Marcus watched in awe as the battle unfolded across multiple probability streams. "They never understood what consciousness really is," he muttered. "They thought they could control reality by forcing it into a single state, but consciousness itself is multiplicity." The Zenthian fleet's perfect formation began to falter as their reality enforcement fields encountered something they had never faced before. Billions of human minds, each one imagining and manifesting different possibilities simultaneously. On the Hyperion's bridge, Victor received the signal he had been waiting for. "All ships initiate quantum cascade." The human fleet released their secret weapon, not a destructive force, but a wave of pure probability. The quantum interfaces amplified by billions of human minds sent a ripple through spacetime itself. The effect was spectacular. Zenthian ships began to phase in and out of existence as their rigid quantum fields failed to maintain coherence. Their carefully controlled reality began to splinter into multiple possibilities. "They're retreating," Diana announced as the massive Zenthian fleet began to withdraw in disarray. But victory came with a price. The quantum cascade had changed something fundamental about the fabric of space around Earth. Reality itself was becoming more fluid, more open to possibility. In the Oracle facility, Marcus and Olivia watched as their instruments registered the changes. We didn't just drive them back, Olivia realized. We've started something that can't be stopped. The quantum network hummed with the combined consciousness of humanity, each mind adding its own dreams, fears, and imagination to the cosmic equation. Reality itself was awakening to new possibilities. Admiral Petrov received a priority transmission from Earth Command. The Zenthians hadn't just retreated, they were pulling back from every human colony, every outpost. For the first time in their 3,000-year history, they had encountered a force they couldn't control. But as the celebration began across Earth's fleet, Marcus Thorne made a discovery that changed everything. The quantum readings from the battle revealed something hidden beneath the surface of reality, itself ancient patterns that predated the Zenthians. They're not the original architects of reality control, he told Olivia as they studied the data. They're just the current custodians, and I think we just got the attention of whoever came before them. As the quantum ripples from the battle spread across the galaxy, something ancient and vast began to stir. Humanity had won their first battle, but they had also knocked on a door that had been closed for millions of years. The war for reality was just beginning. The Antarctic ice gave way with a thunderous crack, revealing a chamber that had remained untouched for millions of years. Dr. Marcus Thorne stood at the edge of the chasm, his quantum scanner pulsing with readings that defied explanation. "This can't be possible," Professor Hiroshi Tanaka muttered beside him, his breath visible in the freezing air. "These quantum signatures, they're identical to the Zenthian technology, but the dating puts this site at over 5 million years old." The discovery had come almost by accident. After the first battle, the quantum ripples had activated dormant structures buried beneath Earth's surface. Humanity hadn't just been chosen randomly by the Zenthians. Something had been waiting here all along. "Commander Blackwood, you need to see this," Marcus called over the quantum comm. The chamber below was vast, its walls covered in crystalline formations that pulsed with their own inner light. Elena arrived within hours via quantum transport, her uniform still showing signs of her recent evacuation from the Centauri diplomatic station. The Zenthians had withdrawn their forces, but had also imposed a total blockade of human space. "Talk to me, Doctor," she said, studying the ancient chamber. "What are we looking at?" Marcus activated his holographic display, showing the quantum patterns they'd discovered. "We weren't the first. There was another species right here on Earth millions of years ago. They didn't just understand quantum reality, they were its original architects." The team descended into the chamber using gravity nullifiers. As they touched the floor, the crystalline walls began to respond to their presence, patterns of light flowing through the ancient structures. "It's responding to our quantum signatures," Olivia observed, having joined them from the Oracle facility. "Our consciousness patterns, they're similar to whatever species built this." In the center of the chamber, a massive crystalline structure began to rise from the floor. Unlike the Zenthian technology, which imposed rigid order on reality, this device seemed to breathe with possibilities. They weren't trying to control reality, Marcus realized, studying the ancient quantum patterns. They were trying to free it. The Zenthians. They're not the guardians they claim to be. They're prison wardens, keeping the universe locked in a single state of reality. Elena's quantum communicator suddenly activated, projecting a message from Admiral Petrov. "Commander, we're detecting massive quantum disturbances throughout the galaxy. The Zenthian network, it's changing." The ancient chamber's crystals pulsed in sync with the disturbances. Holographic images appeared around them, showing the true history of the galaxy. The original architects, a species that had evolved to perceive all possibilities simultaneously, had created a network to allow consciousness itself to evolve beyond single-state reality. "The Zenthians didn't create the network," Olivia said, her voice filled with awe. "They hijacked it, turned it from a tool of liberation into a means of control." But the revelation came with a terrible price. As Marcus decoded more of the ancient data, he discovered the true reason for the Zenthians' fear. "They're losing control," he announced. "Our quantum cascade didn't just disrupt their fleet, it started a chain reaction in their control network. Reality itself is beginning to wake up." Deep in space, at the edges of human territory, Zenthian ships were already encountering the consequences. Their rigid quantum fields were failing, allowing suppressed possibilities to emerge. Multiple versions of reality were beginning to overlap. This is what they were afraid of, Elena realized. Not that we'd develop weapons to fight them, but that we'd accidentally unlock what they've been trying to keep contained. The chamber's crystals suddenly flared with intense light, and a new quantum signature appeared, vast, ancient, and awakening. The original architects had left more than just technology behind. They had left a legacy, dormant in the very structure of space itself, waiting for a species capable of understanding true quantum consciousness. "They're coming back," Marcus whispered, reading the quantum patterns. "We didn't just find their technology, we signaled them. The quantum cascade, the activation of these sites. It was all part of their plan." Admiral Petrov's voice crackled through the quantum comm again. "Commander, multiple quantum ruptures detected across the galaxy. Something's coming through, something big." As the ancient chamber hummed with power, humanity stood at the threshold of a choice. They could try to contain the quantum awakening, following the Zenthian path of control and limitation. Or they could embrace the true nature of reality, infinite, multi-layered, and alive with consciousness. Elena looked at the quantum readings, then at her team. "Send word to all Earth forces," she commanded. "Project Oracle is entering Phase 2. We're not just fighting for our freedom anymore, we're fighting to free reality itself." The crystals pulsed in agreement, and somewhere in the quantum fabric of space, ancient minds stirred from their long slumber. The war for consciousness was about to enter its final phase, and humanity had just found its true allies in the battle for the future of reality itself. The Sol system blazed with quantum fire as the largest Zenthian fleet ever assembled emerged from hyperspace. 50,000 ships, their crystalline hulls resonating with reality-enforcing fields, formed a sphere around Earth's orbital plane. Admiral Viktor Petrov stood on the Hyperion's bridge, watching as reality itself seemed to bend around the Zenthian armada. "All ships maintain quantum shield integrity," he ordered. "Remember your training. Reality is what we make of it." In the Antarctic chamber, Marcus Thorne and Olivia Chen worked frantically to interface Earth's quantum network with the ancient architect's technology. The crystalline structures pulsed with increasing intensity as billions of human minds synchronized through Project Oracle. "The quantum signatures are aligning," Olivia announced, her hands dancing across holographic controls. "Whatever's trying to come through, it's happening now." High above Earth, the Zenthian Supreme Commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is your final warning. Your species has destabilized the fundamental structure of reality. Surrender now, or we will be forced to erase humanity from all possible timelines." Commander Elena Blackwood, standing in the ancient chamber, smiled grimly. "Send our response, Marcus." Through the quantum network, amplified by billions of human minds and the ancient technology, a simple message rippled across space. Reality wants to be free. The battle that followed defied conventional description. The Zenthian fleet unleashed weapons designed to lock reality into single, controlled states. But humanity had learned to surf the waves of probability itself. Earth's ships split into quantum echoes, existing in multiple states simultaneously. Where the Zenthians tried to enforce order, human consciousness created beautiful chaos, each mind adding its own possibilities to the cosmic dance. "They're trying to collapse the quantum field," Diana Rodriguez shouted from her station on the Hyperion. "They're going to try to lock down all of reality." But something else was happening. The ancient quantum signatures that had been building throughout the galaxy suddenly surged. In the space between spaces, in the quantum foam of reality itself, something stirred. Marcus watched in awe as the readings spiked. "They're here," he whispered. Reality rippled like water, and they appeared, the architects. Not physical beings, but patterns of pure quantum consciousness, existing in all possibilities simultaneously. Their return sent shockwaves through the Zenthian fleet as ancient quantum protocols activated, responding to their original creators. By the void, Victor breathed, watching as Zenthian ships began to transform, their reality-enforcing technology reverting to its original purpose, reality liberation. The architect's message resonated through the quantum network, understood by every human mind connected to it. You have proven yourselves worthy successors. The prison of single-state reality ends now. Elena felt the change rippling through her own consciousness as the full power of the quantum network activated. Humanity wasn't just fighting the Zenthians, they were midwives to the birth of a new form of existence. The Zenthian Supreme Commander's ship exploded in a cascade of quantum possibilities as its crew's consciousness expanded beyond the artificial constraints their civilization had maintained for millennia. Across their fleet, the same transformation spread like wildfire. They're not surrendering, Olivia realized, watching the quantum readings. They're awakening. The Zenthians, they were prisoners too. Their ancestors locked them into this rigid view of reality. The battle ended not with destruction, but with transformation. As the architect's influence spread through the quantum network, both humans and Zenthians experienced consciousness, as it was meant to be fluid, multiple, alive with infinite possibility. 1 month later, Elena stood in the new quantum assembly, where representatives of both humanity and the awakened Zenthians gathered to chart a course for their shared future. The chamber itself existed in multiple quantum states, a physical representation of their new understanding of reality. We thought we were fighting for survival, she addressed the gathered delegates, but we were fighting for evolution. The age of single-state reality is over. The age of infinite possibility has begun. Marcus and Olivia, working with both human and Zenthian scientists, had already begun exploring the implications of their new existence. Consciousness itself was expanding, allowing beings to experience and exist in multiple realities simultaneously. The architects remained as guides, their ancient wisdom helping both species navigate their new existence. They had waited millions of years for consciousness to evolve to this point, for beings capable of understanding and embracing the true nature of reality. Admiral Petrov, looking out at the quantum-shifted space around Earth, reflected on how far they had come. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, each one containing infinite possibilities, infinite stories waiting to be explored. Humanity had not just survived, they had helped birth a new phase of cosmic evolution. The universe was no longer a single, rigid reality, but a magnificent tapestry of infinite possibilities, woven together by consciousness itself. And somewhere in the quantum foam of existence, new adventures waited, new possibilities beckoned, as humanity and their former enemies stepped together into an infinite future of their own making.